who's on your screen with the comic book scene. No one but Shaheen.
Hey, wow. Back in the $1 Million Mailbox after it seems like forever. And I'm glad to be back, guys. Where have I been? I've been super swamped with life and busy, taking some time off, reassessing what I want to do. And I just keep coming back to the show. I miss this show. It's like the least profitable, highest effort area of my life, and that I should have more emotional distance from. But I'm really, really into this. We've got the subscriber count keeps growing. By my records, we grew by, I think, 8 subscribers in the last month. Okay, so we have our ups and we have our downs, but it's a slow trickle upwards in the right direction. And I want to take this moment to thank each and every one of you for this thing that we do and for watching it. And what is this thing anyway? What is this thing called again? Oh yeah, the $1 Million Mailbox. If you want to see your comics live on the internet, for goodness sakes, there's one place that you can send them, the $1 Million Mailbox, P.O. Box 1163, Arcata, California, 95518. I will take them. I will spread them out. I will read them, for goodness sakes. How hard is it to just get somebody to read your comics and to really read them and then to actually give you a truthful opinion? Not like you showed them to your cousin and they loved it. Like you showed it to somebody who really reads comics and knows comics and has some constructive feedback and criticism that can only make you a better cartoonist. So please consider sending your stuff in because on this show, this is the show we love to think hard about comics, right? That's the thing that we do here the most. Oh my gosh, so many graphics in the way. It's getting a little insane. How do I even get rid of this stuff? I don't know, guys. This is the joys. Oh wait, I thought Larry wasn't gonna be here today, so I added my body double. But luckily, the man we know and love as Captain Fun is here in the studio with us today. He's not even going to be late. He's right here, and his name is Larry Young. Hey, Larry.
Hey, Dan. I'm super glad to hear you going. This is the least profitable but most fun thing that I do because I'm not sure I'd come out and actually even say that because I love doing $1 Million Mailbox and I love doing serious Star Trek. And I love showing up on John Suntra's show every once in a while. I don't really think. I mean, I look at it different from you because you're putting on a show, right? I get the lovely thing that I get a call from Dan and goes, "Hey man, I want to put on a show," and I go, "What do I say every time?" Yes, can't wait. Fuck yeah, I love talking to you.
Larry, you are the Tony Randall of the $1 Million Mailbox, okay?
Like a Paul Lynde, like the center square, right?
You're Charles Nelson Riley.
Charles Nelson, I'll take that.
Right?
I'll take that.
We're going to bring in, I know that I can bring in Larry and he will not only understand my references, but he will drop references that even I don't understand. That's the wildest part when I met, when I met Larry, started hanging out with Larry, I was like, I thought I knew a lot about comics and science fiction stuff. Like I thought I was kind of a nerd. And I'm like, I am a wannabe compared.
I really appreciate that because that's a skill that I have that if anybody notices at all, I'm like a clapping monkey, like, oh, look, this guy knows pi out to 300 places. And this guy knows the order of all the captains who, ran the Enterprise. It's a similar thing in real world stuff. But when you go, you take what he knows out of it and like just know the complete volume of accurate stuff that he knows. That's pretty cool. So I will take that compliment. I think the same thing about you. You just know different. I know different stuff than you. That's
yeah. I mean, but Larry, you're one of the few guys in the world who has probably read all 4 of these comics. Would you say that you have?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
I think maybe I might not have read Hup all the way through, but I saw it in a store ready to purchase and enjoy. So I'm going to count that. But yeah, I absolutely read Scott, Gene. and like whatever famous Avengers that is. And I have to say, I read Skate Man. I bought a few when they first came out. I'm not at Skate Man Dan Shaheen level.
I got
but Cable number 60, I buy every one of those I see. That's the first appearance of Larry Young in the Marvel Universe.
Nice.
Yeah, so
I'm in Uncanny X-Men. Oh gosh, I can't even remember the number offhand. It's in the very late 200s.
You're in an X-Men, huh? Who drew that?
Mike Choi.
Oh, that's cool. Choi's a very good artist.
Yeah, Uncanny X-Men. When they moved to San Francisco, he was shopping in my store.
Oh, I love that. That's
and
fantastic.
He was there one day and kind of sketching and drawing or whatever. And then the issue came out and he dropped it on me. I've showed it. I don't have it handy, believe it or not.
No, I totally. That's the kind of thing people do for comic store owners, because you sell 1 million of those, and you have a story for the next 25 years about how cool that guy was, right?
He drew me in and even drew in like my store name.
Right, the store. Yeah.
So great.
There's an issue of Thunderbolts 27 where they're in San Francisco, and somebody goes flying up DeViz and Hibbs and old Rob Bennett that used to work there, and me were drawn in coming out of the store going, "What the fuck?" So that was fun. I totally get what that means to you, and in fact, that's right there is why I'm a giant comics fan, because Steve Englehart drew in, I think it's Avengers 145. I don't know exactly, but it's when the Collector comes to the Halloween parade. And that Halloween parade is a real thing in Rutland, Vermont. And it's because, oh man, I forget the guy's name. It's Tom Fagan, I believe. Somebody real. Well, you know, if Alan David Doan was here, he'd go, yeah, that's correct. Or no, that's wrong. But I think it's Tom Fagan was a giant Marvel fan and knew all the guys in New York, to the point where he would issue an invitation. Guys, come up, hang out, drink all the beer, smoke all the weed during the Halloween parade in Vermont. And you'll love it. And because Batman and Superman. And so guys from DC would show up too. And they'd all have this great fun. And then they'd go back and do a story about it. Nice. And so in the DC books, like the Justice League would come, but there'd be like Spider-Man and Captain America in the background of the parade, right? And you're supposed to think those are the real guys. And then in Marvel, they'd be like, oh, here's the parade, wave, Cap. And then like Batman and Superman would be like, what's happening over there? And everybody just like turned a blind eye to it because they were theoretically costumed people at the parade. But everybody knows that those were the real guys, right?
I love that.
So I was 10 and I got to go into the regular general store. And I'm like, what's this Avengers stack doing here on the counter? And they're like, it takes place up the street.
King Size Avengers.
Yeah, it's not that one. It's not the annual, but that's a good one.
This is the best one. This is the greatest. It's the best comic with the worst cover in all of comics, I believe. It is Rogue's first appearance, but it's also it's written by Chris Claremont. It's got art by the great Michael Golden, like the greatest.
I love Michael Golden.
And it wraps up that whole Carol Danvers was a sex slave saga from the Avengers and stuff. Like it's a continuity deep thing for Avengers and X-Men. It really is like the nexus point of those two series, and Rogue is the nexus point, which gives hope for like the next wave of Marvel movies when they do finally fold the X-Men in.
What's the number of that? Which annual is that?
King Size Annual 10. King Size 10. King Size Annual 10.
That's about, what is that, about 81 or so?
Yeah, I believe that's it. It's the greatest.
Avengers 10. I'm going to have to look.
It's my all-time favorite issue of Avengers. It's got just the greatest version of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Rogue's first appearance is badass. She really does kick everybody's ass.
Dude, October 1981. That's a guy who buys comics off the stands and never forgets what he was doing when he read it. Like, I saved you. Like, when I bought that off the stands, I was having lunch at my orthodontist. when in 81, October of 81, I had just graduated college, and but I still had my summer job. I'd been working in an orthodontist lab for like 3 years. My friends were flipping burgers for $3.35 an hour minimum wage. I was making $7.50 an hour making retainers, baby.
Nice.
Because of models. Did I ever tell you that story? I went to the model shop in our local mall, and I'm buying crap. And the guy says to me, "What are you doing with all this stuff?" And I'm like, "I'm making a tank from the Second Civil War." And he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "In the future, there's going to be a civil war in America." And I just had been reading modeling books, and they did this cool thing. They showed a cool way you could create this in models. If you have a World War II tank, a lot of both the Germans and the English and Americans would throw their flag across the hood of the top of their tank. So planes going by would go, "Oh, that's a swastika. Oh, that's the Stars and Stripes. We know who to bomb," right? And it's a cool thing for dioramas. And so I just that's what I told the guy, because everybody knows what the Civil War is. What I really did was get a World War II tank, and I did the flag, and I learned all the techniques and soaking the paper and glue and folding it and shit. Wow. And I painted it so it was a United Federation of Planets flag.
Of course you did, Larry.
Of course I did. But anyway, so I told the guy, I showed him the stuff, and he started picking stuff out. Like, and he made a display. He had this small little thing in the front of his store where he put the model, the undid model, all the stuff that I used, the glues, the brushes and stuff. And he asked me to bring in the thing. And he displayed that for 6 months in his store. Here's the kind of thing that you can create from this shit. This guy worked 100 hours or whatever I told him. And he's 17 years old, and he came up with this genius, right? And so the orthodontist was walking by with his girlfriend and got that whole story from the guy, because his girlfriend was the guidance counselor at my high school.
For real?
Yeah, for real. And so this was when I was 16. So like 81 is a couple of years later, but this is how I got the job. The night before, I had just turned 16. And the night before, I had a giant fight with my dad, who was like, "You have to go get a job. What's the matter with you laying around?" I'm like, "Hey man, I'm going to be the salutatorian of our class. I'm studying." He's like, "You need a job." And we had a like teenage argument where, I'm giving shit to my dad. I get to the point where it's like, in the argument where I go, "I'm not getting a fucking job until somebody gives me one." And he's like, "All right, that's where we're at. You don't have to go to bed, but you can't stay down here, up to your room." And I'm like, "Great. What a punishment. All my cool shit's up there." And the next day, though, I have to apologize. "Sorry, Dad, I was a little hot. Obviously I'll look for a job." And I'm like, "Oh, fuck, I have to look for a job now." I get to school, and the guidance counselor walks by and goes, "Hey, can I talk to you? I got something for you." "All right. Yeah, come by 11 or so." "All right, go ahead." She goes, "Yeah, my boyfriend's Dr. John McLaughlin. He's an orthodontist, and he needs a guy in his lab. And we walked by and saw your model, and is like, that's the guy who can make retainers and false teeth and all kinds of shit for me, because he's got the skills already."
There you go.
And I was like, "What?" And so she goes, "Yeah, he has some dexterity tests that he made. It's like screwing things in and bending wires and shit to see if you got the idea. But we can tell you have the idea. Just go and talk to him. Don't be an idiot, and you have a job."
Wow.
So I go home. I go home that night, and I go, "Hey, Dad, like, I just want to apologize again for losing my temper. It's yeah," and I got a job at an orthodontist. It's the only time I saw my dad like, "All right."
See, you never know. You never know when those dorkly pursuits are going to lead to something big.
Absolutely.
Our pal Chris Sagasag said he met Michael Golden at a local con, was a quiet guy, and he had a long box. I mean, this was a common back issue when I was a kid. This was at the most, if you found it in really high grade, you maybe could spend $20 on it, but it was available because for whatever reason, people ordered a lot of it. And it was great. And it skyrocketed in value, of course, since then. And if you had that long box now, Chris, you'd be doing great.
I don't know. What's your idea of skyrocket? Because I just looked it up.
I don't know. I'm guessing, though, in a high grade condition, you could get a couple $100 at least in a graded shape.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's $250 at 9.6 graded, and just loose and with a board and a bag is around $50.
Okay, so
that's about right.
Yeah, and when you got a long box full of moves,
when
you can pick through and
that's 15 grand, man.
You can find the one that is perfect, and then get a bunch of 8-point whatevers. And anyway, it's a shame though, because this is such a great book. You read it and you read it to pieces when I was a kid because there were no reprints of it. So I got it. Finally bought it. It's like first appearance of Rogue off of the wall. And, you're not even supposed to read it, open it, whatever.
Right, don't look at it.
Yeah, dude, it's so good with the crazy, stupid, dated, like plot teaser cover and all. There was a rejected cover that was so good.
I actually remember that because this just looks like a bunch of boxes. And they had a more traditional cover. I don't think this is the worst cover I've ever seen, but it's not very commercial.
It's
right?
the worst cover for the best issue.
I gotcha. Yeah.
You read this thing just top to bottom, front to back, action-packed, slamming, killer, multi-group crossover superhero battles as you like them, drawn by Michael Golden, no less. So everything is so great.
I wonder if there was some kind of production time thing there because it looks like they just grabbed panels out of the comic.
I forget the lore behind it. I'm
going to look that up because that's a good.
They had a great one with like Captain Marvel on the cover because this is the last Captain Danvers. This is when Rogue steals her powers and alters her destiny forever. Both of their destinies forever, and the destinies of the entire Marvel universe, for that matter.
Yeah, there's 2 sets of X-Men now, right?
We got to turn this into one of those fanboy enthusiasm channels, Larry. That's the only way.
Well, the problem is we're too old. Like, you have been out of the retail game and called exactly what that comic is going for presently, right? So you can take the guys out of the comics, but I'm never going to be that guy like that. When I saw your t-shirt, I was like, oh, fuck Cerebus. That's fucking fantastic. But that's because all the comics that you and me like are from the 80s, the 60s, 70s, 80s. We're like classic rock guys, right?
Yeah, it's sad. I came to that conclusion for sure.
I see Jose Villarroel doing his comic coloring tutorials, and here's I ordinarily don't like the whole fixing thing, but he's a pro colorist, right? And he's going, this is how it should be done. I have no problem with that because whether I agree or not, he's coming from a professional standpoint, right? It's not some dipshit in his room redrawing J. Scott Campbell going, here, I did it better. You know what I mean? It's like he's got some valid points, but I hate computerized modern coloring. He's like, yeah, that's right. That's technically proficient. You're right, but it lacks all soul whatsoever.
I don't know.
Dude.
It can be done well or done badly, I think.
I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying me as a fan, I just love those giant Ben-Day dots and the flexographic press and the whole hand-cut coloring thing. And
you'll get them in spades with this one. There's another one.
That's why I like it.
I have another kind. This is my one of my all-time just top single issue comics of all time. I have another. Wait a minute. Sorry. Wait.
Oh no, milk and cheese. Yes.
I have another one
Stop
here.
there.
Wait, no, this is not it. Where is this thing? Somewhere. Oh yeah, back here. Back here. This Batman special 1 year later, 1982, Batman special 1982, best single issue Batman comic of all time, also art by Michael Golden.
The best single issue of Batman of all time is drawn by either Neil Adams or Marshall Rogers.
You would think.
Come on.
Till you read this one, and then because it's a done in one, features an amazing villain that we never saw before or since, although they have brought him back in more modern times, but it was his first and only appearance at the time. Oh, it's so wonderful. I can't say enough about that issue either.
The one I was thinking of, whenever somebody says that, I'm just contractually obligated to go, really? This is the best whatever of all time. It makes me run through it. And a lot of times I'll go, oh, I get where you're coming from. But the best Batman story done that's only one. What was your criteria?
Yeah,
done in one.
Yeah, done
featuring a villain that's never been seen before, and there was one other thing.
Well, it doesn't need all those things, but
It's Batman 255. So because already I'm of the age that the best Batman story ever done is not 1990 or sooner. Sorry.
Well, this was the 82.
All right. I'll give the 80s a shot because Marshall Rogers was working detective back then. But 255 is Moon of the Wolf. Remember that one? It's also an annual and also has all those dumb boxes of panels on the.
Yeah,
but this one is
right now.
Okay, it's a great Neil Adams and it has all those the boxes.
Oh, it's beautiful. That looks beautiful.
So that entire story is just Batman running into a werewolf trying to help the guy out. It's fucking fantastic. You never see the guy again. It's just a fucking werewolf. He has this crazy. If you ever thought, you know what? I'm a big fan of the Three Stooges, and I love Mo Howard. You know what I like about Mo the best though is his haircut. And what I'd really like to see in my Batman is Neil Adams drawing a guy that's supposed to be Mo Howard as a werewolf, and he's got that bowl cut hair. Oh my god! But Neil Adams, and the whole time as a kid, I'm like, why is Neil Adams drawing Mo Howard from TV's Three Stooges as a werewolf? I just don't understand.
Well, I'm gonna say again, unusual cover on this guy too.
It's a great one. I love that cover.
It's like they just put it out as a special. It was it wasn't an issue because it's unusual. There's death, but it's canon. There's so much canon in this thing. It's great. I don't want to give it away if you haven't seen it. And there's even a cool modern follow-up story on it they did. With this character, you see him on the cover, The Wrath. His name is The Wrath. They've brought him back and kind of tried to bring him back, sort of bring him back, while still paying true to this issue. It really is The Wrath's only appearance.
Okay. I totally remember that. I was working at That's Entertainment when that came out. I'm dying to know, Chris Saguisig, if you can tell me what store you were working at the warehouse. Was that Comics and Comics? Was that Beer Bomb? Yeah, in 1986. I wonder who that Chris, young teen Chris, was working for.
That pattern sounds exactly like what Bob Beerbaum talks about. How like he bought 10,000 copies of Death of Elektra because he was like that far ahead of the curve.
That was my clue. That and Comics Warehouse, because most guys out here in '86 didn't have warehouses. They just had their shops.
Yeah, that's true.
So it might be Rory, but I bet it's Beer Bomb.
Well, there was that dude. I'm even forgetting his name.
Yeah, that dude who owes me $350. The dude who did jail time for screwing everybody on the DVD collection. He was told everybody he was going to make. Oh, Shelton. Shelton's a good guy. He's not the criminal. It was what was that guy's name? He took over Comics and Comics from Beer Bomb.
Is it Rojek?
Ross Rojek.
Ross Rojek. Oh, he's my all-time favorite comic book villain. Did you know he got arrested? He did time for selling fake facial recognition software to the federal government after 9/11.
I do. I keep track of that. I keep track of that guy because he looked me in the face and said, "I will hand you $350 tomorrow." And then every time I saw him, I'm like, come on, man.
He's a bad man.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say.
And eventually he was just like, I'm a criminal. And I'm like, okay. Now
that'd make a good YouTube.
I said to him, I'm like, hey, man, do you want me to tell everybody that, you didn't pay me for a box of comics? And he's like, everybody's already made up their mind about me, man. You can't make it worse. And I was like, oh. And then he made it worse. Remember that show, My So-Called Life?
Yes.
His big thing that brought him to the attention of John Law was that he's like, I'm arranging to make this this collection of this beloved show, and he tapped into all their fans and got them to all pay for it, and then just went, oh yeah, I couldn't get the rights. And they were like,
he's a nerd villain.
But now you got to send the money back, Ross. Like, come on.
He is a nerd villain, the
really
likes
is.
of which we've never seen. He's a dorky Lex Luthor. I love that.
he's just a dipshit, and comics book people are innocent and believe in doing what's right. So they can't believe that a comic book guy is going to do him that dirty on purpose.
Okay.
That's the rule. Fuck that guy.
Unfortunately, I could talk about that guy all day. And maybe we will someday. Maybe
we will.
Maybe we'll have a special episode. But for now, we gotta do that thing we do, and we gotta go to that place we go that we call what?
We're on a mission from God.
The $1 Million Comics Cam. And man, oh man, do I have $1 million worth of stuff to show you.
Oh, I love this
Today. It's gonna.
Can I tell you? I was about to interrupt you and go, "Hey, man, like, where's the comics?" My kid is working on his comics all day today. We were just dealing with he has an artist in Brazil, so it's quite a time difference. But we trade stuff with him all the time, and I'm like, man, I told him today, like getting ready to call Daniel, that's his name. I was like, give me some info on the stuff, and plus, remember, let's make sure this is the best. There's no errors in this whatsoever. There's no typos. Everything's as good as you can make it, because I'm sending this to Dan. He's going to review it. So that's what these guys did. And I see Bigfoot. I can't wait.
I can't. So I've been sitting on not one, but two of the complete Riley, the teenage Bigfoot.
Oh, man. That's awesome.
Let me shrink back down again. Which is, you know, amazing. I'm going to say it's
Riley
amazing.
2.
Yeah, this is 2. I've got Complete Riley 1, and each of these is a thick book that sells for $20. Okay, with
quite reasonable.
All this for $20. Not safe for kids. It's definitely not for kids, despite having some trappings of kids and even some kid-friendly-ish features in the first issue, which are confusing. We'll talk about. I'm gonna cop. I've read the Complete Riley Volume 1 cover to cover. I have not done the same for Complete Riley 2. I've read quite a bit of it, and I'm gonna we're gonna do one of my techniques that I do, because these are strips. It's not like a graphic novel story. It's strips, and I think they're serialized, maybe on the web. Not positive, but ever since I was a kid. And I bought Garfield and Bloom County collections and the like. My technique, my trick was I would see the book. I had to pick it up, flip to a random page, read a comic, and laugh. Right? Mm-hmm. If I did that on the first pick, I would be, okay, I'm going to buy it. Because I don't know. I think that's the joy, the beauty of a comic strip. And this is a really weird one.
Jeff Manley is a good guy. I haven't read these yet, but I do know for a fact, because I just read it on the internet, and it's got to be right, that they're now safe for kids. The strips, some of the more questionable strips in Volume 1 anyway, on Amazon, says in all caps, Riley, a Teenage Bigfoot, is now safe for kids.
Oh yeah. There's like 20. There's like 20 pages in the back of this thing where he takes certain strips and edits them for kids. But like the other 380 pages preceding it, Larry, are exceedingly not safe for children.
Oh really? Wow, that's bold then to say it's now safe for kids in all caps on Amazon, and then just point the outraged adults to the bit in the back where they're edited.
It is confusing. It says 25 Bitey and Little B strips for kids in the back. But right before those 25 strips for kids, there's 20 Riley, a teenage Bigfoot werewolf. And we'll learn about Riley in that he's like a misanthrope, in that he hates humans. He loves drugs. He's kind of misogynistic.
I guess I'm a Bigfoot too.
But lovable. Yes, Larry, but lovable.
He doesn't love drugs and hates people, but it's still an inherently kind person.
So he sent me
Riley.
He sent me these a long time ago. This is an overdue interview. It's been piling up in the $1 Million Mailbox, but you know what I decided I'm going to do now with the Mailbox? There's a few things stacked up in there. Remember at the end of Watchmen, where that the new frontiersmen, they say, hey, I got to fill something. Go pull something off the crank file. Right?
Yeah.
and he and he reaches and he finds Rorschach's journal is the next thing on the crank pile. So I kind of did it that way. I'm like, I got this pile of stuff back in the mailbox again. I'm going to pull it out. And what did I pull? But a pretty amazing comic.
Oh,
I made reference to this thing before, and when I hadn't read it, saying it bore some similarities to that boys club thing that, you know, Pepe the Frog was based on.
Yeah.
And it kind of does. In that it has a simplified drawing style, similar to maybe like a Fred Hembeck or a Matt Groening. But I'm going to say this, better. He draws better than those guys. And whereas those guys, I feel like, are them drawing what they can draw, I feel like he's taking what he can do and pulling it way back and simplifying it. And it just shows in the overall composition and line work and everything. I'll let you look and be the judge.
Have you been reading that Miller thing on my page about, I made some crack about him, 95-year-old Frank Miller, and instead of everybody fucking talking about the illustration,
hilarious, Larry,
and give me shit about that. Well, Rags Morales showed up this morning and is like, yes, and starts talking about the fucking illustration, and I'm like, that's cool. Like, how do you feel about pineapple on pizza? Because that's what we're talking about now, man. That was yesterday's news. Nobody's
Rags was he bagging on it?
Yeah, he was just going off about how Frank Miller is not a skilled artist, but to Rags's credit, he's like, no, he has fantastic storytelling. He has all this.
Exactly.
So, like, who gives a shit if you can draw?
He's not a skilled draftsman, because he's an amazing artist.
So that's how I feel about the list you just said, like Fred Hembeck and Matt Groening. It's like, you know, the fact that they're so hilarious, pointing at universal truths. Like, fucking who cares that it doesn't look like Dale Keown drawing Wolverine? Like,
you're preaching to the choir on this one, Larry, for sure.
So that's how I feel about this Riley, because I totally see some Hembeck there.
Yes.
And then you were like, oh, he's better. And I'm like, I can't wait to see the inside, because when you're talking about strips, it kind of doesn't matter what the art's like.
True.
Because if it was, Mike Manley would be as famous as Harrison Ford doing fucking, you know, what's her name? Brenda Starr or whatever he draws, right? No, Brenda Straw is that lunatic Roy Richardson. What's Mike work on? He works on something fantastic, but nobody cares because it's like 3 75-year-old ladies read it, and that's it.
I'm with you. But what I'm saying is, like, a Matt Groening, and he would cop to this himself, he was drawing, like, he was making up for his lack of drawing abilities and just kind of drawing it as good as he could.
I gotcha.
Whereas this Riley is deceptively simple, because, like, even this cover here on the complete Riley, this perspective drawing of Riley is something that you're not going to get out of a Matt Groening looking good, or probably even a Fred Hembeck.
I gotcha.
So let me zoom in on the old.
I can tell you, just flipping through it, I love it. I would buy this at the store, flipping through it too. Reading just anything like a teenage Bigfoot wearing a baseball cap backwards, yelling about drugs. Yeah.
Yes.
No, I'm not surprised there are 2 giant volumes of hundreds of panels of this, because that's amazing. I love it.
The drawing is really appealing. And like I said, it betrays, and sometimes it slips through. Like, the strip is very also surreal and weird at times. Like, most of the time it's gross out, extremely juvenile stoner humor. And I don't mean that as an insult, because this guy, if he's not trying for that, I don't know what he's trying for, right? Because it's as juvenile and as stonerish as you can get. And it's silly to watch a Bigfoot that likes to do bong hits and have sex with chicks, but he also likes to kill humans. Just like, if you see, they love the Bigfoots love to fuck with humans that are in there. Like, there's constantly just a random strip where it's just, they are terrorizing some poor campers that just are in the woods over and over and over again.
There's such a happy thing about Bigfoot stories with audiences. I'm sure it's just like there, but for the grace of God go us kind of thing, right? Like the Bigfoot are just like really hairy people deep down.
Yes. Oh,
Like,
for sure.
so my friend Stephanie has a really good idea. I don't think she's done anything with it. It seems like the serious version of this. It's like there's a whole collection of Bigfoot people living up in the woods, and they're just left alone. And some of them are Bigfoot, but some of them just shave every day, right? So they go in and get the sugar and salt in town, and it's super serious. And the metaphor is, it's a racial class kind of story, but it's like, you're making some serious points with Bigfoot. And so I'm getting the same feeling from this. Is like, wow, you're telling some hilarious jokes, but with Bigfoot.
I mean, sometimes they're hilarious, and then sometimes it slips into the surreal. Occasionally, the artist himself appears occasionally. Things like the way his parents are rendered and treated hints at a real dark, weird mental backstory to everything that I love. I love that kind of darkness.
That's fantastic. Just so you know, and I hope Jeff is listening. I just clicked buy now on Amazon while you were talking on the first one. So Riley, the first volume of Riley's coming to my house.
Cha-ching! You see, that's what I'm talking about. About the $1 million mailbox.
That's honestly why I like hanging out with you, because you turn me on to comics that, I don't get to comic stores that much, and comics experience is a different place than when I worked there. So I don't get the love from comic book stores anymore. But it's not me, man. It's comic book stores are having a giant challenge because you can't just hang out with your buddies and talk shit anymore in the life of the COVID, right?
True.
So I'm not capping on Hibbs' store at all. I love it. I'm just saying it's just not the same kind of thing, So I would never sit around and have a chance to find this, because the other thing, and again, I'm emphasizing this is not Hibbs' store. I just shot it out because it's my local one. That there's so much fucking stuff being published that you can't just
crazy.
You can't just pop in, like to the point where he's doing new fixtures for a store that's coming out into the space a little. So he gets that there's a wall and then a little run of comics and then the wall again. Just because there's so much crap. I mean, when I did the Making of Astronauts in Trouble, the script collection, there was literally nothing. There was Neil Gaiman's script in the back of Sandman 8, and then Alan Moore.
Nat Gertler did a thing.
Yeah, way after me though.
Yeah.
Whatever. And
former friend of the show, by the way, who abandoned us.
I'm just saying that when these things came out, you had to say Neil Gaiman, Alan Moore, who did Twilight of the Superheroes, and Larry Young in the same sentence. So that was a very effective book for us, right? That if you were interested in how it worked, your friends could tell you, oh, there's no set style, but here's how these guys did it, right? And now, fucking Hibbs had to put out a giant coming into the store area for all the how-to letter, how to write, here's what I did, giant fucking full-size things of Walt Simonson, just the whole like process thing that did not exist in the industry.
It's wild.
20 years ago. And now there's thousands of books about it.
Yeah. Well, then I think just like there were those few books that filtered out before, and the Understanding Comics and the Eisner sequential art and a few others, those affected so many people. These are going to filter out and affect people in even weirder, different, more varied ways. It's going to be great. Speaking of varied, weird ways, I want to point out this. There's an all-star pinup section.
Nice. Yeah.
Which is my favorite section of the book by far, not even close. I love the rest of the book too. But this has some names that we've seen on this show before. We've had on the show doing their interpretations of the character. Remember Schlepzig?
I do. There's bonus Schlepzig I saw in there.
Extra Schlepzig as you like it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. We did this in Skype. You just get all your friends to draw your character. It's pretty cool.
But they did a really great job.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love
it. Knocked it out of the park in a bunch of different styles that are. Look at this. Just makes me go like, F commercial comics and big name comics. I looked at the Eisners anyway. This nominations this year. I only knew of one book on the entire Eisner list, the Jason Shiga book.
Yeah.
and nothing else I either read or even heard of or saw. Because I have the opposite problem that you've got in your big city. You make me, by the way, you make me sick, Larry. You're like, the problem with the comic book stores around here is you just go in and there's just such a varied variety of amazing top shelf materials. And then I go into my local store in rural Northern California, and God bless Barry and what he does at my local store, because it is a tough market. It's never been harder to carry. He can't even carry all the DC stuff.
Yeah, that's nuts.
But he does carry.
I should give
Heroinberg, and that we'll be talking about this.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I love
new
those
issue
guys.
of Heroinberg. We're gonna talk.
I think that was like the second one that I joined you on $1 Million Mailbox. I remember that very clearly because I had nothing else in my head. So I'm like, yeah.
Well, he sent me the most recent one, and we're gonna take a quick look at that towards the end here. I just wanted to show, if nothing else, I wanted to show these pinups because dude, these are not good. These are great. The drawing, I love them. I love them. How is this like? This is like Paul Grist or something doing. I don't know. Oh man, I love them. I love them.
I have to say, I'm an old man. I know what I like. I know I can tell instantly if somebody in comics knows what they're doing. And I literally bought this off of Amazon while you were talking.
Yeah.
I didn't want to forget, right? I didn't want to forget to get this because this guy knows what he's doing. Nice job, Jeff Manley.
So good. And Chris Sagasag always like, Chris, you're like, you are my generation exactly, because I'll always think that. I always think though, here's how to left field, the perfect question for Captain Fun, Larry.
Okay, hit me.
Okay, everything's been remade, right?
Uh-huh.
And redone and rebooted a zillion times, except some things that haven't. Like, they did a $6 Million Man thing. They tried to do it, but they never did a good, like a full-blown.
What did they try to do for the reboot?
They did a new Bionic Woman series maybe 10 years ago.
Oh, right. Yes.
Like that,
right? But that's not $6 Million Man. That's Jamie Summers.
Exactly.
Here's the deal. You know the story, right?
I do not know the story.
Universal.
I come to Captain Fun for this kind of
Universal is just fucking in love with the $6 Million Man. They see all the money, but they realize what's going on with Star Trek, that it has to be right, because the only people care about $6 Million Man are people like us, right? So it's got to be right. So unfortunately, last I heard, Mark Wahlberg was attached as the guy, and he's not the guy. He's too old. I don't say anything. I love him. That Spencer thing he just did is fantastic.
He stinks.
But he's not Lee Majors, and he's too old.
He's a jerk off. That's
the
all.
Best thing I heard, though, is Kevin Smith took a shot at it, and he's like, we can't have it be a $6 Million Man because that doesn't make any sense anymore.
Right.
And he made it as part of the story that's the bounty that the bad guys have after Colonel Steve Austin. He's the $6 Million Man. That's what you get when you return him to the bad guy.
But Larry, didn't Marky
Mark? I love that.
Didn't Marky Mark do a great job stepping into Chuck Heston's shoes for the Planet of the Apes reboot? Wasn't that fucking fantastic?
He wasn't the problem in that movie.
Tim Burton is just a problem in general.
I have to live
that stuff.
I have to live with my wife, and she is in love with his design sense and the emo movies like
he stinks.
Beetlejuice and
he stinks. And Batman '89 was.
I
loved it then.
Yeah,
it is not aged well. Burton,
I don't have a problem with that movie at all. I love that first one. But that's what, like, when Mimi and I started dating, that's what we bonded over, right? Like our first Valentine's Day, I gave her a pair of garnet earrings because that's her birthstone. That's like the dumb, like boyfriend gift. But then I gave her Understanding Comics and Dark Knight Returns because she was in love with that Batman. That's like got us talking. She's like, "Oh, you like Batman? What do you think of the movie?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm not going to tell you what I think of the movie because you apparently love it. So I'm going to tell you all the things I like about this movie." And then possibly we'll date and get married and have a kid.
I love it. And it all worked.
she thinks that she buys copies of Understanding Comics for People to this day because all of the graphic user interface that comics fans just grow up with.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking about that with Riley's book, or the book about Riley, Jeff's book about Riley. That like there's a left to right, up and down, back and forth thing that you learn how to read letter balloons like right away from comic strips, and then it gets more nuanced in comics. It's more, but like regular people who don't grow up like that have no idea how to read comics.
That book was huge in the tech scene.
Because of Mimi.
And his
and people like her, of course.
Well, yeah, his rarest book is he did a comic about the Chrome browser for Google.
Oh, did he? Oh.
That I have somewhere. I got a copy of it. He did a Scott McCloud. He was doing a signing at eBay and Google. And I tracked him down, and I'm like, dude, I begged him to come to my store. He's like, yeah, you're small potatoes, kid. I said, look, I wrote back. I'm like, look, I know you're going to be here this day and there that next day. I'm literally right between them. I've been supporting you from day zero of Zot. And
Zot. I love Zot.
Understanding Comics is like my jam, and I've sold thousands of copies. And he, to his credit, he made the time and he came in. It was a wonderful appearance.
That's cool.
Okay, wait, before I move on from Riley.
Wait, one more thing, or it's going to go away. So you're talking about the weird Chrome thing?
Oh, yeah.
Look at this.
What?
Giga Dude. And it's about polygons and stuff. Anyway, do you recognize this art?
No, who did
shitty
that?
Camera? This is Derek Robertson.
Yeah, okay.
So Derek and me and Johnny Hebink and somebody else. Is there? Nope, just us. The Gigapixel guys took all their tech money and wrote a comic and hired comic book guys to do it at triple the actual going rate.
Love that.
And I probably have the only existing copy now because this company Gigapixel got bought and sold like 19 times. I just found like 3 of them, so I'm gonna get that one slabbed. I get this impossible to find Derek Robertson thing and see what I can sell it for.
To me, it was Scott McCloud. And are you familiar with Edward Tufte?
No.
Larry.
I don't recognize. I might be familiar with his work.
Edward Tufte, yeah. He's for statistical representation and graphs and like how to draw beautiful charts and graphs and things. His book, Envisioning Information, is like one of the top. Like I put that right next to Understanding Comics in my like visual library.
What's it called?
His name is Edward Tufte.
Tufte, yeah.
Tufte. He's the guy. He's the man. Tufte's the man. I got turned on to him by buying a book at a garage sale in San Francisco that I saw because the cover was amazing. I think it was Envisioning Information. It was the name of the book, and it changed my life slightly.
What was the one you were just talking about, though?
I think Envisioning Information. He has a couple of ones. Envisioning Information, Beautiful Evidence, and then another one, the quantitative. I can't remember.
Yeah, no, that's good. I can't spell that guy's name right, so I'm gonna look it up.
And he does seminars and all kinds of stuff. Okay, I want to do one last thing for Riley because I love this so much. I love when they send me extras, and he sent me a color mini comic. It's got a full color cover and like different color paper on the inside. It's just a lovely little.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, so this is called Never Meet Your Heroes, and it's each page is a different in honor of a different classic comic strip.
Oh, that's cool.
And I'm gonna say we're gonna see if we can identify every single one. And there's an index in the back. We'll do it quickly. Obviously.
So we're going left and right. Yeah. Or are they both the same? Obviously, that's
this one is obviously Lucy and Snoopy.
Charles Schultz. Right?
Okay, and then what? Luann. Yeah. Beetle Bailey. Oh, one of my favorite. You know, I got an original Mort Walker Beetle Bailey sketch.
Yeah.
You could just write to him, he'd send him. Okay, Calvin and Hobbes, obviously.
Yeah. Popeye, yeah.
No, there's
Rick Lowell up in Maine has so much original art kicking around in his back room that it's just like lying there holding up, wobbly desks and stuff. So I don't doubt that you have a Mort Walker that you're just like, holding an old coffee mug on or something. Like, you retailers. All the artists love you. All the artists love you.
I got on an original art kick a long time ago and bought up a bunch of stuff I could find. Anyway, let's get through this because I got to actually a hard stop at the hour.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's Pogo.
A little after the hour.
Pogo and Garfield.
Garfield. Because I'm going to say the test of this is if you recognize.
I don't know that kid. That's some
Don't know.
new cartoon from the kids.
This one I'm going to say is Mr. Butts, or Mr. J, rather, from Doonesbury.
Yeah, that's good. Nice call.
Doonesbury with his subtle.
That's Curtis. I love Curtis.
What is that comic called? It's Curtis, right?
It's a newspaper strip. I love it.
Ooh, little Lee Falk action.
Yeah.
On the purple page, even. Mwah, nice.
Oh, that's great.
Nice touch.
Yeah.
Got a Dagwood. Got a Kathy.
He drew all these. That's pretty good. BC. I used to love that.
BC. This one, Maggie and Jigs or something like that, or I don't
know that one.
This one I don't know. Hagar
the Horrible. Yeah.
Okay, dude, this one made
Zippy's flashing them.
The Ziggy made me laugh so hard.
Yeah, that's a good.
He said, "Now I can see why you think so little of yourself." It's a little dick Ziggy gag.
You know what's best about that though? He's flashing him. See the flash coming at him? Oh, dude. There's just that, no matter how you look at that, that's 100% comedy.
I think that Ziggy is probably short but cut thick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's not long. Size of a Coke can.
All right.
That's what Ziggy told me.
This one,
I can't even see that.
Don't know.
And that's the girl from Foxtrot, the sister. Yeah.
It's vaguely lewd. She's coming out of the shower.
Man, Foxtrot is basically the Sunday strip I really like still because it's about me and my friends.
We got Zitz. We got Little Nemo. One of my faves. Another Wizard of Id. No, we did BC.
Wizard Hagar and then Wizard of Id. Yeah.
Wizard of Id. Johnny Hart. How he conjured up the power to do Wizard of Id and BC day after day after day. The guy was amazing.
Those were some good comics. I really like Vito Bailey too, I gotta say.
We got Grown Up Calvin.
Yeah. Do Not Want.
That was not my favorite.
That's Far Side.
Far Side?
Yeah, this one. House.
This one, Larry.
Family Circus.
Love it.
Love it.
And then of course we got a Crazy Cat. We go back to the classics.
Ignatz, yeah. What's that one on the right though?
We got a Marmaduke.
Oh, Marmaduke.
Which he put a doggone funny in there. You remember how on the side?
Yeah, no, of course. That's hilarious.
Stupid little thing. One of my favorite things ever. There was a blog called Marmaduke Explained, where every day he would take Marmaduke and it would just be like an explanation of what the gag was of Marmaduke, just told in a pretty straight way. And I would laugh and laugh and laugh every single day. What's this? Jump Start? I think. I'm guessing this is Rex Morgan, MD, but only because I don't know any other like doctor.
Yeah, some of those adventure strips, I don't even get why they're still going on. Like, really?
Mark Trail or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, we got Bloom County. Broomhilda.
What's that? Broomhilda. I was like, what's that witch's name? I gotta get it.
Okay, and then a nice little creator.
Creator guide, yeah.
And a couple I didn't know. Wallace. We didn't know. Oh, For Better or For Worse. I didn't pick up on For Better or For Worse right after Kathy. Okay, sorry to do this to you folks, but like I'm a Lynn Johnston fanatic. No, this is wrong. This is wrong. I just found an error, dude. Right after Kathy is BC. There's no Lynn Johnston in here that I noticed.
Lynn, he might have just been repping her book. What's Lynn Johnston's book? It's Forever or Worse, right?
Yeah, Forever for Worse.
Yeah.
For better or for worse.
Better for Worse. Yeah.
For Better for Worse, my favorite. Oh well, not in here. This is a mistake. I found a mistake. You're lucky I don't destroy. No, I'm just kidding. I love this. Thank you.
I gotta say, you're not making me feel badly about my mid-show purchase, but rather really good about it. I'm like, the guy fucking did that, and just my personal headcanon is he put that mistake in there just so to see if we were fucking really paying attention.
That's what $1 Million Mailbox. That's the $1 Million Mailbox difference, Larry.
That's right.
Although I did gloss over 400 pages of Complete Riley Volume 2 and haven't read.
Well, volume 2, you're good because if you like the first one, it's more of that.
Well, right. What we
Right.
can do is we can do my test. We're going to go to a random
Just
Riley.
grab some random.
We'll go to a random Riley page.
Ooh,
Okay.
snowman.
I thought we were going out to eat alone. Yes, but I wanted you to meet Fozzie. He saved my life. It's my pleasure to meet you, B. Riley, where did you meet this charming fellow? See, I didn't laugh. I wouldn't. I would have flipped again.
No, I mean, I totally. So, but in the context, that you're flipping into the middle of the book.
Yes.
So you're coming in on the middle of something, and you're coming in on some girl Bigfoot, and who gets his name wrong, and he's like, "No, here's my correct name." I don't know, man.
Oh, by the way,
come on.
Her name, Larry. Her name is
Becky.
Boobfoot.
What is it?
Boobfoot. If that's not the best girl Bigfoot name in a teenage juvenile delinquent,
I'm giving this book to my kid.
It's great.
Bigfoot.
to be fair, I believe Riley too. It's venturing into longer form storytelling, so it's not as much gag a day. So that might not be the best one to pass the Dan Shaheen flip test. However,
I get it if you get the context, right? Like a lot. This is the second time. It's the follow-up album. Everybody knows we're geniuses. Here's the thing that we really wanted to do, and now please fans buy this one because I totally get it.
He ticked my first box for me. It's like appealing design. It's like appealing. It did remind me of a few things, but it's clear. Guy's got drawing chops of his own, very strong. And he's actually kind of like toning it down into this simplified style, which leads to a very, very satisfying. The characters feel like they have weight and all the things that matter, right? It's not your amateurish, crappy web strip. It's a really well illustrated and drawn thing.
Guys like us, though, all you had to do is hold that up, and I go, okay, that guy did the job. That's $20.
Yeah, it's a
$20
sure,
because that is a piece of work, right? I know what it takes to get a book that thick out the door and sent to a guy, so he can tell me what he thinks of it, right? And that's a job. So nice work, Riley. I guarantee you I'm going to buy the second one. I keep calling him Riley. Jeff Manley. Yeah.
Riley.
The only thing I can see that's different between him and what I did with Astronauts in Trouble in the beginning is that I probably would have had a stuffed Bigfoot animal for people to purchase and enjoy at this point. I did have t-shirts, caps, watches, and hats before I published issue 1. So that's where I am on the swag thing.
You were ahead of your time. Now that's everything. Like there's guys with YouTube channels and stuff that make more money selling hats and stuff.
It's insane. Although I just bought my kid a Not the Bees t-shirt from Sean Airy on Screen Crush. That guy, man. Have you ever watched Screen Crush?
Mm-mm.
The minute after you stop watching a show, he and his staff has to be 150 brainiac supermodels. Just literally the minute after a show is over, they have to send him shows like The Mandalorian and stuff ahead of time. Because the minute you can click on YouTube and it'll go 180 things that you might have missed in the latest episode of Mandalorian. You know, and you're like, that's the only guy I'll take it from too, because he doesn't write his headline as, 37 things you had no idea about, you schmuck. Like everything on the internet. He's like, here's some stuff we saw.
I'm pretty sure
might not have caught.
I'm pretty sure I have watched it.
Anyway, he's got a running joke about Nicolas Cage in Wicker Man going, not the bees. And so he just made a shirt with Nicolas Cage's face on it in a bee thing from Wicker Man. And I'm like, I don't even know if that's licensed. But I don't care, Sean. My kid needs this shirt. Christmas is coming and his stocking is only half full.
It's good. Nick Cage not too big to be in a B movie. Ha 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 ha.
Movie. Yeah.
Okay.
Here's our boys, the models from Pittsburgh.
From my hometown.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, PA, baby. Yeah, that's right.
How many times do you have to say that before that goes into my head?
Daddy born in Pittsburgh, PA. I moved to San Jose at the tender age of 1.
Now that's why I don't. You're Mr. California. That's why I don't remember. I mean,
I am.
I was born in Ohio, but who cares about that, right?
I care, Larry.
Nobody cares.
It's that salt of the earth Midwestern plain spokenness that we love.
You know, the only thing I remember about Cleveland, the corner store down the street had white popsicles. And as an adult, I was like, I know this is a true memory. It's not involved in a crime. I wasn't abducted. The fuck is with white popsicles?
What flavor?
So that's the thing. I went on the internet, and it was a test market of lemon flavored popsicles.
Oh, wow.
In 1966. So I was 3 and a bit. And that's so I remember
Stuff like that sticks with you. I remember when
forever. I could, if I could draw where I was walking down the sidewalk with my mom.
I remember seeing, like, when we were in LA going to Disneyland, and they were test marketing the McRib before it went national, and it was like, that was an amazing day in a young Danny's life.
Yeah, and look what happened. That was an amazing day for McDonald's.
Okay, we gotta go. I gotta
go.
You know
what? You're responsible. In my head, you're responsible for McRibs because you went, these are good. Make this a national rollout.
I couldn't get it.
And you were like 5 or whatever.
I couldn't get enough. Okay, we've seen Heroinberg before. I described them as a cosplay troupe, which is not what they are. Okay, they got a TV show. They got their own internet show. That's the it's the spiritual successor to Electra Woman and Dinah Girl. It's got sassy chicks dressed in spandex fighting each other, and what's not to love about that?
I agree.
It features all, it's old-fashioned superhero comics as you like it, witty quips and stuff, and character names and silly names and superpowers that get explained in somewhat verbose dialogue balloons. That's my one. That's probably my biggest gripe on Heroinberg, is just maybe the word count per balloon. Sometimes
I'm sure we said that in the first one, right?
Maybe
like that on that left-hand page there, that top.
Yeah, there's even more up there. Yeah,
there's just all kinds of wrong with that because the person who's on the right can't speak first, right? That doesn't work. They should have flopped that piece of art. Anyway, plus you're right. Way too many words in one.
Yeah, and in here, like this title kind of gets lost a little bit. I had a hard time reading it. In fact, I had to bring a all new Zoom feature for the $1 Million Mailbox. Let me put that.
A Zoom feature?
The Zoom. Let me put the Zoom lens
on.
Like
right zooming in
for myself.
Oh.
And this character's name is Fenica. So we've got all kinds of different fun-looking super heroines drawn in.
I love that art on the left-hand side there. The cool thing where the person's jumping up, but the artist had to draw 3 figures.
Yes.
Whenever I see there's somebody that's really, really good about that. Is it Tom Zoller? I don't know. Somebody whose art I really like, but I keep forgetting that they're a professional because they're just a friend of mine. I don't know. Somebody, but they do very cool stuff. Like when somebody's having a fight, they'll draw like 15 arms, right?
Yeah.
And so somebody jumping, and there's like 5 guys showing the cycle of motion, and it really helps the storytelling. It's a pretty generic use of the space. It's not groundbreaking or anything, but it's so labor intensive that whenever I see it, it's like you realize that this character has 15 arms, right? And it's like, yeah, well, that doesn't just happen. The guy had to draw all that. If it's just a guy going like this, that takes him 20 minutes. But this, he took a day on that one panel. You know,
that's pretty cool.
So I love that when I see it.
Well, so Heroinberg, again, they're putting out. This is a labor of love. Obviously, there's no price on Heroinberg. Because is it priceless? Is that where I want to go with this? I don't know. It is priceless in the sense that there is no cover price on it. But yet, I've seen it for sale at my local comic book store, which is more than I can say about even a lot of DC and Marvel titles right now, because the discount levels have been slashed to retailers in such a way that many of them can't even, some of the smaller shops they don't sell enough Batman to.
Is there a UPC code on the back or not?
There's not.
These guys are brilliant then, because you know what that means? You can sell it to the retailer direct for whatever that guy wants to pay.
Yeah, that's the deal.
And because distribution is so screwed up now, I think that's brilliant. I think, hey man, we give 50% off. And the guy goes, well, I can only spend so much per book. I'm like, all right, well, that works out to like 48% off, and we'll work with you if you want, right? That you can't do when it's got a manufactured suggested retail price on it.
Well, and I'll bet my local guy makes more money if he sells an issue of Harrenberg than he does on a DC book right now, because I think he's getting 35% off of DC now, and these guys are at like 50% returnable and free shipping for most small publishers. If you're willing to take the time to deal directly with the publishers, they want to get their books out there, and they will give you a chance if you'll work with them.
I would do that when I was publishing. For anybody who wanted to, I would try to talk them out of it. It's like, look, get it through Diamond. But if that, like, so whatever their Diamond discount was like, I don't know. I think it was 40 off for retailers. I mean, for small press guys like us. Like we would sell it to Diamond at 60 off, and they would sell it for 40 off, and everybody. That's how you would get the money, right?
That's the old school way, right?
And so a retailer would be like, fuck Diamond. I want to sell your books, but I have to have 50 off. So to them, I'm giving them another 10 points. But to me, I'm getting another 10 points. So why wouldn't I do that?
Exactly right.
So, but I didn't, because I didn't want to step on Diamond. I wanted to do everything correct, and I wanted to look people in the eye and go.
You want to be on the charts. You want your number on the charts as what?
I wanted it to be. I didn't really care about that, but other people do. So I wanted to go that way, so I could go, hey man, I'm not taking money away from you, which I wasn't anyway, because like if some guy said he was selling my book and I didn't know him already, that was a lie.
Well, Larry, but you were putting out, that was old school black and white press, right? Like you didn't have to deal with anything like, oh, I don't know, a Heidelberger Druck. You didn't have to deal with inventing all new printing processes just to.
I did not.
It's got an amazing new auto bilking feature, Larry.
Can I get one of those under my chair in my office? Because
does a lot of bilking. It auto bilks.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said milking.
No, not milks. It auto bilks.
Not safe for work jokes.
And hey, speaking of bilks, I got a scam I've been running for a long time here. It's called the $1 Million Mailbox, right? So if you've got comics you want to send in, you want to get the same treatment that Riley the Teenage Bigfoot and Harrenberg got today, then you got to send it in. You got to send it into the $1 Million Mailbox. You think these special effects just pay for themselves? Well, you know how much it costs to get ILM to work on stuff like this, Larry? It is not cheap.
I haven't calculated it, but I imagine it's an astronomical amount of money.
It's wild. And so let me just say, since Lucas left, the quality has just gone downhill.
You big Lebowski fan? I know you got to go, but are you a big Lebowski fan?
Not as much as many.
Yeah,
I kind of love the Coen brothers, so I am.
The Ben Gazzara character is Jackie Treehorn, and that's my shirt. That's why it looks like a penis, because he's the wave of the future. Way of the future, dude.
I used to think of myself as an obscure reference T-shirt guy, but Larry is the king of the obscure reference T-shirt.
Now that you can buy Guardians of the Galaxy uniforms in Hot Topics, I have to go deep.
You gotta go, yeah, totally. Well, but also though, now graffiti is out of business, and they did a lot of the great obscure with the Arkham Asylum.
They really did.
Staff member and stuff like that.
I was a giant fan of Chappie, even though he wasn't like the most social guy in the world.
Is that the graffiti guy?
Yeah. Chapman, what was his first name? I just called him Chappie, so I don't remember. It's not Mark David Chapman, although I'm not sure.
It's not Graham Chapman.
No. Anyway, he's big, he was one of those guys that thought if you had a T-shirt and you said, hey, look at my cool T-shirt. What do you think, T-shirt guy? He'd be like, I didn't sell you that T-shirt, so I don't give a shit. He's like one of those guys. Old school.
As it should be. Okay. Yeah. Speaking of old school, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I'm sorry.
We're right on. We're a little bit over time, but I want to thank everybody out there who's watching. We had a bunch of people watching. I get more views, I think, on $1 Million Mailbox stuff than usually on Serious Star Trek. It depends. But I love them both so much, Larry. You're such a huge part of that thing. I am promising. Thanks, I realized, man. I go, why haven't I done a comic book show on Thursdays for so long? It's because I didn't just put it on my calendar and just scheduled it and did it. So now I'm moving to Thursdays at 3 p.m., right in line with the Serious Star Trek Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Way better for me because I can get bigger, uninterrupted chunks of work done before I waste all of my resources and squander my family's future making content for you good people. Thank you. Come back. Okay, so come back on Tuesday. Me and Larry will be watching series. We'll be there on Serious Star Trek with John E. Price, PhD. Mm-hmm. We might even have some new visuals I've been working on in my spare time. Been blendering it up.
And Dave Porter too, man. Should we talk about that?
Let's save it it.
Come on Tuesday. You'll see some cool stuff. Thanks to Dave Porter.
I got to get out of here. Next Thursday, 3 p.m. Pacific Earth time, we'll be back with Don Simpson again. He's dropping his new sequel to 1963. It's called, for whatever reason, it's called X Amount of Comics. I don't understand the name. I'll ask him about that. I'll answer all my questions. I read this thing before it was published. I helped proofread it a little bit.
That's cool. Was it fun?
Super fun, but it's super wild. It's a stream of consciousness trip through Don Simpson's mind, this comic. If you're looking for a straight up like sequel to 1963, this ain't it, brother. But it's spiritually, it's something deeper. It's more of a work of art that's straight out from Don, not a crass, callow cash-in effort like the one I'm involved with. In the giant size 1963 special,
oh my God.
I've written a new intra-man, or is it infra-man? No, it's intra-man in our story, and intra-girl, as they go on an EC-inspired sci-fi journey. It's sort of my way. I tried to get like super obscure, and like Ant-Man really was inspired by some of those EC science and shrinking man comics and stuff. Like there's a direct line between them. And so I tried to thread that needle, and I also tried to make my spin on like a Hank Pym like character, a guy who's like the second smartest man in the Marvel universe. You know what I mean?
Cool. Yeah.
Like a guy who's like kind of bitter about the other guys. Like we think about Hank Pym as like a super genius in multiple categories, but nobody thinks of him as like the smartest guy in the world.
Dan, I'm so excited for you. That's awesome. Yeah. Doing your own book, man.
This is going to be
a story. I mean,
this is going to be an 8-pager, I think, a 5 or 8-pager. Is
this your first official comics work?
I've done a little bit of mini comics, and I did a little bit of this and that. This is going to be part of an anthology that hopefully is coming out this year. And it's probably one of the things it's the comics thing I've done that I'm probably the most proud of. That's but awesome. Mostly because I got to work with the amazing Milo Trent, this artist. Who is like, man, he's like, he loves all the 90s superhero stuff, but he's got a style that's more of like a throwback to, he's almost like a Rick Geary meets Hergé.
Oh man, that's right up my alley. That's some good art.
Yeah, oh, he's wonderful. He's wonderful. So anyway,
is he one of Eli's guys?
One of that crew. He's working on their new.
Oh, dude, that's a guy
Superman thing.
That's probably someone that philosophically works with you really well too.
Yeah. Right? Oh, it's amazing. It's an amazing fit. And speaking of an amazing fit, you, the audience, are an amazing fit with this show. I thank you for maybe clicking thumbs up. If you like this thing, click thumbs down. If you didn't, just come back and watch us. You know when we're coming back, Larry? You know when it's going to be? I do.
I do too. You say it. Who speaks first? You speak first?
It's me, and it's going to be next time. See ya.